Do we have free will? Is a very common question us humans like to ask because we like to think, are we in control of our life? Are we actually directing our lives in the way that we actually desire? Or is there a greater happening occurring? And the answer is yes, there is free will. Of course there is, but not in the exact way that people assume when they posit the question or present the argument that everything's fated or everything is actually free will, okay? So you have the innocent perspective of free will, which is more of the libertarian view, which is essentially saying you can perform actions that are not based off of your past actions, meaning you have no tether, you have no bearings, you have no limitations on your capacity to take action. But we know for a fact that is not the case. Obviously, as a human, there are certain things I cannot do that are impossible, okay? That are just the inherent limitations of being a finite being in an infinite universe. So obviously, there are certain limitations on the things that I can do as a human, you can do as a human, or that different beings and entities can do in their current states, right? Over time, as things evolve, you can start to have different abilities, different capacities, different things that you can will into existence. But for the most part, there's going to be finite limitations on what you can do because you are a finite being. If you were able to do whatever you wanted with infinite potential, you would be infinite potential. You would be God, divine. You'd be the all, the creator. But the thing is, you are the creator. We are the divine. We're just the divine, the creator in a limited, finite configuration, a form. We are the wave within the ocean. But the wave is not a fundamentally distinct thing from the ocean. And the wave's will is not distinct or separate from the ocean's will, which means that God's will, the creator's will, the all's will, is manifest in a finite form through us, each individual, okay? So because we're not a distinctly, fundamentally different thing than God, than the all, we're just a finite mode of it, whatever will or characteristics God has can be channeled through us, has the potential to be channeled through us. We get our will from God's will. So if you think of free will as I am this distinct, separate individual being who's not bound by anything else or my past, and I can do whatever I please in the present moment without having any kind of karmic momentum going on, energetic momentum going on, then yes, you're wrong. There is no free will. But if you understand that actually within each moment, you have infinite choices, infinite potential to choose many different things, obviously there are certain things you can't do that are impossible based off of the certain position you're in at that particular time. But there's still an infinite amount of possibilities. This is an analogy, or this is an example I like to give that really drives the point home. So say that you are trying to travel abroad. You want to travel to Paris. You have many different versions of yourself along the way, right? You have the version of yourself who decides to go to Paris, who books the ticket, who goes to the airport, who gets on the plane, who touches down in Paris and has a croissant. You have like 6 different versions of yourself across these days, weeks, months, however long it takes. You have these different versions of yourself that each are making decisions that are leading you down a path, right? They're each taking one step down the road to Paris and croissants. I feel like the turtleneck kind of fits that vibe a little bit. If I just had a baguette, it'd be the full picture. So each one of those versions of yourself has the same amount of free will. The one or version of yourself that decided to go to Paris does not have more choice or more free will than the version of yourself in Paris, even though the version of yourself in Paris has certain configurations of choices or opportunities they can take advantage of because of the past decisions they've made, the past versions of themselves. So within each step, it's almost like this Russian doll level of infinite potential, infinite choices, but that are still constrained to a certain subset of all possibilities, all logically coherent possibilities. So within each moment, you have an infinite degree of, not an infinite degree, an infinite spectrum, tapestry of options. But those options are determined by past actions. This is what yogis call karma. Past actions, momentum, choices, right? At each step, you could choose to jump out of the plane while you're in it, right? That'd be a crazy decision, but you have that free will. But you can't not be on the plane while you're on the plane because you got on the plane because of the past. You can't not be a human at that moment in time because you are a human. These are things that would defy logic and so therefore would defy the very fabric of existence itself. So all of that to say, I'm sure you're assuming, what is the point? You're rambling at me, or hey, don't be rude. Let me finish. The point is that yes, you do have free will. And in every single moment in time, in the present moment, because the future is just a projection, an assumption in the present moment, and the past is just a memory or a certain interpretation of what presumably came before, even though it can be very much distorted in our minds, depending on the perspective. All there really truly is the present moment. And within the present moment, you have the conscious ability to choose the direction that you move forward in. Because you are a finite version of God. And so God's will is your will. Y'all's will, universe's will, is your will. So of course, you shouldn't think of God as this separate thing or the creator as a separate thing guiding you like you're a pawn. No, you are an expression of that divine will. So because you have access to it, the more you become aware of that divine will within you through inner work, meditation, yoga, thoughtfulness. This is kind of what the Eastern philosophies, Eastern traditions, and the healing traditions as well, indigenous cultures are really teaching you, is to tap into that divine will and realize that it is not separate from you. You are not having to fight against it. You can move more freely, move with more autonomy and liberation, less limitation. And if you want to develop your free will and to do it in a more conscious way, when you direct yourself in areas that are better for you as opposed to being subject to the will of other people, right? I have a transformation guide you can get down below that guides you through all the different aspects of yourself that might be getting in the way, might be limiting you from expressing your true divine will and nature.